So it's another special edition of 4020 Not Live, where we're looking forward and not back with Alan Robinson, Mr. Midlands Hurricanes. Although the first question I'm going to ask you, Alan, is purely from a non-business perspective, how hard was it to get rid of a brand that you've been personally involved with for, 2 decades now?
Yeah, probably just over that, actually, yeah. Well, we're not actually getting rid of the brand, so that's the good news.
Wrong already, that's good.
So the brand will continue, just in a different guise. But yeah, obviously, there's a lot of sentimental value there. I've worn the shirt, and it was a very difficult decision, but I think the new journey has sort of been really exciting as well. So new beginnings, and we've tried to. Well, I've tried personally to focus on the positives around that, shall we say.
Yeah, plenty of people have been talking about the decision since it's been made online. Obviously, they have far more information than you do as to how this works and everything. But why now, and why the change to Midlands?
I think really the catalyst was the fact that there was going to be a large reduction in funding. Of course, we all knew this was potentially on the cards for quite a while. So I had to, for quite a while, really, I suppose I was thinking outside the box a little bit to what we could do and how we could think differently, how we could look at structuring the business a bit differently. Because obviously the bottom line is, when you're a professional club and semi-professional club, you've got to be able to function correctly, and you've got to be able to compete at that level. Otherwise, you're just a passenger. When we went into League One, we never wanted to be a passenger. We always wanted to be able to progress and grow. And I suppose there's some part of that, some part of naivety at the beginning of the journey. And of course, it's very exciting in the beginning. But when you're in the trenches as such over 5 or 6 years in League One, like we have been, we've had some moments, and we've had some great moments, and we've had some great development along the way. But I think the time had come, really, certainly with the funding cuts, to think a bit differently. How could I grow the business, and how could we become bigger? How could we become a bigger brand, better on the field, a better business? And I think really that was the main beginnings of the idea around the regional brand. There's a lot of work gone into it. I think I've never been as busy in relation to just everything. But at the moment, really pleased with where we are.
As the arbiter of all things Midlands Rugby League, the most important question is, how's Mr. Ron Banks taken the news?
Ron's great. Ron's on board. We're all really excited because, in some ways, actually, there's a lot of excitement around what's happening with the Bears as well, because the Bears is now, we've got, the plan is to go back into the regional competition that we used to be in, and we became very successful in. But we've a cohort of very young players now. We've a lot of junior stuff going on. Last year, I was doing some coaching myself in the schools and outside in the community. And we had probably 20, 25 under 16s, but they've got no one to play. And those 16s are now going to be a couple of years older. And really, it's the right time. The Bears goes back to becoming a regional brand. We can add something to that competition. The local clubs are actually now contacting me, and been really excited about the Bears. And right, okay, what does this mean for them, for the local competition? Another club coming back in as such that was in it previously. So we don't have that peer brand situation where we have had that for a number of years, where perhaps, we played those clubs before, and perhaps attracting those clubs to League One has been a bit of a challenge. When now, with the Midlands brand, with the Hurricanes, everyone's quite aware of that actually in the Midlands already because of the regional academy that was at Loughborough. So being the regional academy had quite a lot of success, but obviously then with funding, and it had its challenges. But Yeah, Ron's great. Ron's really excited about it. He's obviously taken a big step back from everything the last couple of years, but he enjoys his rugby. Obviously, he still enjoys going up to Barrow. We've had some great battles with Barrow as well in recent years. So, yeah, Ron's doing great.
If it's good enough for Ron, it should be good enough for everybody.
Yeah.
The one thing I was going to ask you that I think has been missed by a lot of people is that clearly you brought in a new investor. And this is at a time when Rugby League is looking for more economic opportunity. There's been talk clearly that strategic group are fielding interest from financial bodies. More of that apparently is due to come out. But it's great that there is. But you've almost let the shark there by doing this to bring in some new money, which surely must be a huge success, if nothing else.
To be honest, quite frankly, it's a miracle. Considering, there's a lot of negativity around the game. It's hard. It's harder. I don't want to keep going on, but, I suppose in some respects, we're not in the north. It is harder. It is more of a challenge. But the opportunity that we have in the Midlands and in the south is great. And I think that's always there. But it's how we go about it and how we showcase that and how we can attract as you said, attract the right investment. Because I think what we've done, what I've done and managing to find Mike Lomas, and Mike is a rugby league guy, loves the game, been involved in the game for many, many years. He's a self-made businessman. He's very successful in business. And quite frankly, I feel very, very fortunate that I've managed to find Mike at the right time. But he also believes in we believe in the same philosophy. And I think that coupled with investment is critical to this. It's not just about the money. It's about having another business partner for me that, brings a wealth of business experience. So, we've everything we want to go about is going to be really strategic. It's not just throw money at it and see what happens. There's a huge amount of potential with the Hurricanes. I've probably been working on this concept for about 18 months, to almost 2 years, because I knew that really the sustainability of the Bears was going to be limited, being a tenant. We needed to be able to widen our scope in regards to business. We needed to be able to, have food and drink. We needed to be able to have hospitality, everything that goes along with what a club that owns its own facility or a club that is, successful in the game has. But very fortunate to find Mike, fantastic guy, brilliant outlook on the game. And he's really passionate as well. So I couldn't ask for more.
The logo looks smart. The kits look very smart. Very impressed by those. What does Midlands entail? What is the geographical area you're targeting with this name?
I mean, if you look at it, it's quite a geographical area. Population-wise, Birmingham in itself is, just in the West Midlands. But I think first and foremost, it's about building the brand. We're not trying to do anything crazy here. We've still got a lot of work to do. I think the initial plan really around it is that we embrace rugby league people within the Midlands region. So, I mean, last year, for example, I did some work on a new website for Midlands Rugby League. When you look at that, actually, you see the number of clubs that are involved in the game in the Midlands. There's a lot. There's about 30 odd clubs. When you encompass the student game in there as well, there's more clubs playing the student game as in the university game in the Midlands than any other region. So there's a lot of rugby league people actually playing the game. And then you actually add in other things like, tag rugby. We have a really successful tag rugby franchise at the minute that myself and Troy Perkins is another business that we do. We have probably nearly 500 people that are partaking in that weekly, and that's local. That's sort of Warwick, Coventry, and the sort of wider Warwickshire. Really, first and foremost, we want to encompass rugby league people. If we can harness the rugby league support and people that are playing the game and people that are interested in the game, in the Midlands region first and foremost. Surely that should be our number one priority. So when you sort of couple that with our community plan in relation to growth of the community, we've got now, I think, 3 satellite clubs obviously associated with the Bears and what we've been doing around the World Cup. There's another few hundred there, So there's a lot of association with the game, but we need to harness that under one brand. And I think that is also part of the thinking around the Hurricanes, and that we want to encompass and bring the central group of people in relation to the sport together, and to be able to support the Hurricanes. And it's starting to work. I'm starting to see that now. I'm starting to see some excitement around that. And when before it was a bit more difficult for the Bears because, we were a peer brand to the other clubs. It was Coventry. It was a city. Now it's a bit more, look, we're trying to do this as a regional thing. Come and get involved. We want to be able to host festivals. We'll be able to do a lot of stuff like that we couldn't do before. So, at Birmingham and Solihull next year, we want to be. I've just had Jason from the New Ravens contact us. They want to get involved in the community activity. We want to be able to reach out to all the Midlands clubs in relation to other junior festivals. We couldn't really do that before as the Bears at a big stadium that we were attending. There would have been extra costs associated with that. Now, as a regional brand and the situation that we have and that we're going to be growing into in the next few years, we'll be able to do all of that. So we'll be able to become that bigger brand.
Sorry. I was going to say, you mentioned the World Cup and obviously delayed for a year, which was disappointing for everyone when it was first announced, but it seems now to have given people more time. And I guess you've got more time to connect the Hurricanes with the World Cup, with the match with the world champions coming to the region.
Yeah. I mean, we've been really well connected with the World Cup. What John Dutton and the team have done is quite unbelievable. There's a lot of passion behind it. There's a lot of hard work gone into it. At the council meeting today, John spoke about that, and I think it's all about everybody coming together behind it, making sure that we maximise it for the sport and for the game. We're obviously going to be wanting to do that even more as a regional brand now. Obviously, we've got the Bears as well. So, I mean, I'm passionate about the legacy of it, and I think that's something I don't want to lose sight of, because the legacy previously was going to be around Coventry and the Bears. That will still continue, but then we want to be able to connect more to it, So, yeah, really exciting. Obviously, with Australia and Scotland, it's a great opportunity, a massive game. The Rico, it's a great stadium. It's really accessible, really easy to get to. I just hope it's not as cold as it was 5 or 6 years ago at the Four Nations. So hopefully it's going to be massively successful, and the legacy program and the work we're doing with the satellite clubs and in the schools and the community, and we'll hopefully benefit from that.
And talking about successful, how successful and how quickly do Midlands Hurricanes need to be? Because clearly one of the things I would imagine you would want to do in establishing the brand as quickly as you can is actually to have some success on the field. And whilst you were Coventry Bears, you built within your means. You had to go from being, if you like, a super community club to compete with semi-professional clubs. That was always going to take time. Attracting players down was going to be an issue. Maybe now with the Midlands branding, that'll be slightly easier. But how much and what do you have to deliver, and over what time scale, to make this worthwhile?
No doubt, we need some success on the field to grow the brand. But I think we're at a point now where last year we had our most successful year on the field. I got a bit more involved with Rich, sort of on the playing side, alongside the staff in regards to the culture and the players, and I think we sort of reset things a little bit. But we had a really successful year last year, and we got some big scalps at home. We've already set our goals now for next year. We want to be able to go and topple some clubs in there, away from home. We want to be able to, strive and make the playoffs that we narrowly missed out on last year. But I think the other thing we've got to make sure we don't lose sight of is there's got to be a balance, and there is a lot of growth to be had, because the plan is, and I don't think a lot of people maybe might not quite realise, but the plan is for us to be able to relocate to the Alexander Stadium in 2023. So I'm working. It's not something I've spoken a lot about, but the potential there is huge, because the obviously off the back of the legacy of the Commonwealth Games, there's a brand new stadium. There's actually 2 pitches there. It's the growth opportunity there, and the business opportunity there, and everything else is going to be. There's going to be a lot of work. Well, we're working on it now, so there's going to be a plan behind that for the next 2 to 3 years to be able to grow within that facility. That will be literally right in the centre of the country. I mean, it's 3 minutes off the M6, 7 minutes from Birmingham City Centre, and major links off the back of the Commonwealth Games. I mean, you can't get much better than that when it comes to being able to launch a new brand, a new sport effectively within a major city. But on the field, it's got to go along with that. So we've got to be careful. We're not going to just, it's got to be part of the plan. So yes, we've had, some investment, but we're still operating under the same model. It's not going to be, right, we're going to get promoted straight away. It's going to be, there's still a plan behind that, where we're going to grow in the right way with the right investment over the right time period. But I'm really confident. We've probably signed about 90% of the squad from last year, which is we've never been able to do that, as in, the right guys in the right positions. We've added some players to it, but we've also brought in, I'm really proud of the fact as well that Rich Squires has done a lot of work, and I'm always proud of the fact that we can maybe perhaps find some players that other clubs may not be more aware of. The likes of the student game, we've picked up probably 3 or 4 guys from the student game that I think are going to really add some value to us in the next couple of years. So yeah, the format's still the same. It's not going to be a huge injection of money and a massive sweeping change of a squad. The plan is going to be still grow within our means. So, but I'm confident that this year will be even better again.
Presumably, growth within your means as well means leaving some spots available for local talent. You know better than anybody how long it takes to develop that talent. And whilst we'll no doubt talk about Cornwall as well soon and how they've opted to do it slightly differently to you have, this idea that you can just pick up rugby union talent and quickly turn it into semi-professional rugby league talent. You've been there, you've done that, you know how hard that is, but you've been developing rugby league talent now for 15, 20 years. Are you confident there's a new reservoir out there that you can tap into of Midlands based players?
Quite simply put, the potential is unbelievable. And this is again, with the Bears, we've done a lot of work in Birmingham already. We've laid a lot of groundwork. We're in Erdington, for example, one of the most deprived areas of Birmingham, and some of the potential I've seen in some of the schools. We were involved. Obviously, the RFL was involved with. We had quite a number of community coaches at one point. There was quite a bit of work had been done. There's still some of that work, you can be seen, but the potential for finding athletes, the potential for finding, and if I'm not saying finding rugby union players, it's about finding athletes and then bringing them within the right structure, the right pathway, and being able to develop them. Now, obviously, not right away, but our plan will be to grow, to have an academy. Like there was at Loughborough, but again, financially stable. It's got to be able to sustain itself, and there's got to be the right feeders into that. And I think at the moment, the major issue is in the Midlands, there's not enough kids playing rugby league. So there's not that constant drip feed of players that you can get into an academy. There's just not enough. And I don't really believe in this, in the sort of the basic college format. It's very difficult. It's got to be a different format to it. You've got to include more of a broad range of talent. You've got to be able to attract it, and you've got to be able to grow it in the right way. But the potential is huge. In Perry Bar alone, where we will hopefully be relocating to, is the biggest secondary school in the country. And there's been rugby league done there in the past. There's some academies around Birmingham that we've done work in, and some of the athletes, it's unbelievable. But you've got to have the right pathway. You've got to have the right processes to be able to harness those. You've got to have the right community programs. There's no point in us just, sticking a flag in the ground and waving it around going, we're here, come along. It's got to be more than that. And I think that's where the community program comes in. That's where the satellite clubs come in. Because you can't just announce a trial and expect 50 great guys to rock up the next day. It just doesn't happen. We've done it. I've tried that. Like, we've done everything possible as a club outside the traditional areas of the game to find rugby players, and majority of rugby union players get paid more money, so you'd have to pay them money that for a player that isn't a rugby league player to then try and teach them rugby league. That's the first problem you've got. You might have the best athlete. I've had some guys that have been unbelievable athletes, but get them to take a hit up in Keighley, coming up the hill, in the pouring rain. It's a different situation. So there's you've got to have a plan. It's very, very difficult to just find players and convert them. You'll get that now and again. You'll find a gem, but really, is it sustainable? It's just not sustainable. Those guys haven't played rugby league from when they were in school or when they were coming through in the community. They're not hardened to it. They don't understand the rules, the game, the intricacies of it. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a very, very big ask, and it's a very, very difficult job. And we've been there. I've been there. I've done it. We do still bring players in. Like at the moment, we have a couple of trialists, and one of them is actually a Great Britain Gaelic footballer. One of them's another young rugby union player. Both unbelievable athletes that they're actually athletically good enough for League One, but understanding the game, teaching them the game and everything else is secondary to that. But now that we have the Bears obviously going back into the regional competition, now we have hopefully a stronger regional competition as well. There'll be more opportunities for those sorts of guys. So there was always that big gap between the community game in the Midlands and League One. And I think that, again, is another challenge.
Assuming that 2023, when you're playing at the new stadium in Birmingham, that you haven't gained promotion through the playoffs into the Championship, any idea what the third tier of rugby league will look like in that 2023 season?
At the moment, I don't think I can really foresee major changes. I don't think there's been any major announcements either centrally around that. To be honest, I'm not looking that far ahead. I'm looking at us and what we're trying to do right now. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to get promoted, but obviously it's going to be a lot more difficult in the next couple of years. I think with a lot of transition around the leagues and the game and the money within the game. I think first and foremost, when we get, if everything goes as planned, when we get to the major facility in Birmingham, it'll kick in another sort of aspect of our journey and where we're going to go from there. So, yeah, I probably can't go into that too much as such in relation to, I'm not thinking that far ahead. I just haven't had time to. I know there's a lot of discussion in the game around what the game's going to look like. I think all I will say is I think it's in really good hands. The discussions, the meetings I've been in and the meetings that we've been party to, I know Gary Gary Hetherington was at the last meeting in Halifax, and it's just great to be able to hear from someone like him who's got the real the good of the game at heart and understands everything and understands what the game needs. And I think the group that's been put together around working with Super League, Championship, League One, the community game, all aspects of the game, we've got to leave it in their hands, and we've got to hope. I think the confidence is certainly there for the clubs and everybody. There's always positivity, there's always negativity outside, but I think we've all got to focus now on what's best for the game.
No, I don't want to say that I'm the negativity. I just ask questions. Speaking of, obviously, you were one of the clubs who went to Toronto on their rise up through the leagues. You may have been preparing for a trip to Ottawa this year. You're not. You're preparing for a trip to Cornwall. It's another new trip on the Rugby League journey of League One.
Yeah, it's. I'm really excited about it. I think I just wish it was a bit later in the summer. We get a bit of sun. I think we're the first game down there, and there's obviously been a lot of, I'm not going to say negativity, because there's a lot of controversy maybe about what's going on with Ottawa and what's going on with Cornwall. I do know some of the guys previously that were involved with the Cornish Rebels. They're really passionate rugby league guys, with the good of the game at heart. Eric Perez is the same. At the end of the day, he's passionate about the game and he wants to grow the game. And I think, again, when we went to Toronto, there was a very similar feeling around everything. It was a fear of the unknown, shall we say? And as you gentlemen know, I've been around a bit when it comes to sort of playing internationally in different countries and in the student game and things like that. And I treated it like that. I said to the guys, look, this is a part of the journey. This is going to be amazing. We're going to Toronto. It's going to be tough, without doubt, when you look at the players they have on the field. But I know we had an amazing experience, and I think most people that went there did. But we went there with that belief that we're going to enjoy the making an event. Enjoy the event, enjoy the game, get as much out of it as we can, learn from it, and move forward with it in a positive way. And we did that. With Cornwall, it'll be the same from our perspective. We're talking about it quite a lot, actually. We're really excited about, we'll turn the journey into a positive thing. Whatever way we're going to do, we're going to do that. There's definitely some logistics to get around, and I know there's been a lot of questions asked by a number of clubs. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. I wish Cornwall all the best. I'm sure they're going to have some more exciting announcements soon. I know they've just announced the head coach yesterday, and it's a very strong appointment. So yeah, I think there's going to be more interesting things to come from them. But yeah, we're all on this crazy journey, aren't we? So we'll see what it holds.
Well, announced their first player earlier today as well, Anthony.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, Anthony Mullally, a good signing.
Oh, wow, yeah, good signing.
Won a grand final 4 years ago. So we'll get into.
He's been in France, hasn't he? Yeah,
he has. But he actually has a business in Cornwall, and being a surfer, couldn't think of anywhere better for him to be. I was going to ask you again about your development plan, because I know how much hard work has gone into that Midlands region over a long period of time, and how important the Bears were in the early days of not only the Rugby League Conference but National League 3 as well. And your players were being picked up by clubs like Sheffield when they played in grand finals. What's the buy-in been like of people like Birmingham Bulldogs, Leicester, Nottingham, Telford? All of these areas have done everything they can to promote rugby league over a long period of time. Do they see themselves now as feeder clubs for the Hurricanes? Do they see themselves working with you to provide that pathway that you were talking about? Is it something that perhaps we need to do more to re-establish that Midlands Hurricanes Academy that we once had for players in the Midlands that were picked up professionally by Warrington and London and other clubs? Have you got that buy-in? Because if we have one criticism of what's happened in the past, it's that when we got League One clubs, they were sacrificed on the altar of the promise of the future that never happened. Presumably that's not going to happen with the model that you've set up?
No, I'm really proud to say that we have that buy-in. And I didn't make any announcements around the Hurricanes until I had that buy-in. I've spoken to, actually, it's quite interesting. I've spoken to Sean Flynn at Birmingham Bulldogs quite a lot recently, more so than I have done, I think, in the last 10 years. But, he sees it as an opportunity for them because the Bears are back in the Midlands region, so he's going to have some opposition, not saying better opposition, but he's going to have some strong opposition for his club. The benefits, obviously, the Hurricanes will bring will be able to give his players, some added impetus around the pathway, above that again. And it's not like going from Birmingham to Coventry; it's going from Birmingham to a regional brand. So he can see the benefit in that. When before it was a difficult conversation, perhaps. I've had different relationships with a number of the different clubs down the years because I used to play on the field against them. Some people would be like, "Oh God, this guy's run over the top of me a few times. What's he like?" But I think at the end of the day, there's still some key guys there. You've got Fred Baker at Telford. The Telford Raiders have been a great club all these years as well. They're always been really supportive of myself and the club and what we've done. I said I'm engaging at the minute with the New Ravens. They're based at Birmingham and Solihull as well. And I had that conversation with Jason before we even discussed moving things forward in a major way there. So I've been really conscious that I want to have that buy-in, as you said, because without that, we just would be another grain, another seed on stony ground. We wouldn't be able to draw from the support and the playing base. On the East Midlands side, John Doughty at Derby is very supportive of us. Actually, something very interesting there that's gone on in the last couple of years is we've released, I think, about 5 players back to Derby that have come through, spent some time with us, maybe had a little bit of League One experience, and then went back to the community game. So Derby are now actually a very strong community club with 4 or 5 players there that are still quite young, but that have had some League One experience. Nottingham have been playing in the Yorkshire League. I do speak to Joe Shep now and again because he's been involved in the student game. And I think they're on a slightly different trajectory to us because they've been in the Yorkshire division now for a number of years. Another club that we're very close with is Sherwood. Adam Bates at Sherwood Wolfhunt. They've got great aspirations for what they want to do with the club, and they want to be, the best community club they can be. And I think that is amazing. Really, when you hear a club saying, we want to be the best community club we can be, we want to play in different competitions, we want to experience different things, we want to play in the Challenge Cup, we want to have juniors, we want to do this, do that. And they've got a plan behind it. And I think, and it's not just we want everything at once, we're going to do it over a couple of years. And again, they're really supportive of what we've done with the brand. So I haven't got around everybody because there's quite a few, but all the major clubs that have engaged with us have been really positive. I'm really confident that they've given us that buy-in, and I think it's critical, as you said, Phil. It's really, really important.
Time is ticking, so I'll have to pick your brains on kit design when we were at York in January the 7th, isn't it? The Hurricanes' first game under the new brand.
That's right, 7th of January, up at York. And it's quite early, but we're looking forward to that run out. We'll hopefully be able to make a few presentations that night as well around the bigger journey.
Purple's a great colour. I'm a very big fan. Phil, have you got any last questions?
I'm just going to ask you very briefly about the Challenge Cup and obviously the excitement of being back involved in that again and something to build to early in the season.
Oh, absolutely. We've had a couple. Obviously, we've got a bit of a few cultural links there to the likes of Ireland and Scotland, and it's really exciting time of year. I'd love to see some of those clubs, especially the tribesmen, the Galway tribesmen, Peter Ryan and I were actually talking about it at training on Saturday, how great it would be if the Midlands Hurricanes could get if those guys could get through the first round and we could get a draw against them, it'd just be great. So again, I love the fact that there's a bit of flavour to it, and we have some of the countries involved, and it's going to be great to see. Whether we have a first Challenge Cup game at home, but we'll have to wait and see. But just to think, everyone's really excited about being able to start playing again without major restrictions, and then getting back into sort of the weekly excitement of games, and obviously it starts with the Challenge Cup. So yeah, can't wait.
Alan,
the only other thing I was going to ask you is prospects for Ireland in the World Cup, because whilst you'll be absolutely delighted to have Australia and Scotland on your doorstep, you'll be looking out for the Emerald Isle.
Oh yeah. I know Stuart Littler's, real experienced now, and has been involved in coaching for a number of years, and was a great player. I know he certainly has his finger on the pulse when it comes to the players, and I think the players that I know, obviously, that have come through our club, the likes of Peter Ryan and a number of guys that we've had, and obviously around League One. We've got I think everyone wants to find that excitement again of being able to work really hard, play well in your own competition, showcase yourself to guys like Stuart Littler, and be able to be involved in that at the end of the year. I think that's something everyone's looking forward to. And I think that will, if we can really build that up, and the media get behind it, I think it just adds more excitement. But from the club's perspective, I mean, you've got guys like obviously Carl Hall at Doncaster is really deeply involved in some of those international teams. But we've got to build that excitement, get behind the World Cup, build that positivity, and shout from the rooftops about some of those stories about those guys that come from a little town in Ireland to be playing, the likes of Australia or the likes of Samoa or whatever. So, yeah, I think we could do more on that, but we've just got to keep it up, keep up the positivity.
Oh, this is too hard. Keep up the positivity in 2021, and we've got to do it in 2022 now. Alan, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Best of wishes with the new journey. We'll look forward to seeing you in January at York, and fingers crossed that the Hurricanes is a successful 2022 and beyond.
Thanks very much, guys. Pleasure.